happened to hip hop? Did it die? Did it fall off on the wayside? Did we lose sight of what kept us strong? What helped us to hold on? What happened to hip hop? Did it die? Did it fall off on the wayside? Did we lose sight of what kept us strong? What helped us to hold on?
What happened to hip hop? When being real beatbox, scratched, popped and locked and dropped bodies like tone.
And welcome, everyone. Thank you again for coming into our broadcast for today. This is the Community Activist of Kansas City radio show. We have taken the initiative of moving our Facebook live and direct interactively. You can call in on your phone. You can chat with us. You can actually speak live on the air, ask your questions and comments. And today we have a very special guest right spontaneously with a willing heart to speak to us here in Kansas City. We have, with E.C. Swift of Truth, promoted one of our writers and authors as an African-American community philanthropist, someone who is giving back to the community, to the nation, to the people. And in my opinion, he is raising an army of young youth, promoting, supporting them in the core nature of their existence, in their literacy, in their heart and spirit, working with at-risk youth, working with our children, his wife right by his side, promoting him. It is a wonderful opportunity for us to meet Brother Rick Ross. Freeway Rick Ross, as he is titled, is going to be speaking with us today. He has a book signing event that is occurring this other end of the week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There will be daily events that will be occurring here in Kansas City. And I just want our Kansas City audience to behave themselves, to be courteous and polite, and welcome Brother Rick Ross here in Kansas. Greetings, Brother Rick Ross. Thank you for coming in on our broadcast today.
No, thank you for having me. That introduction was oh, wow, that was wonderful. I think that might be the best introduction I ever had.
Thank you.
I said, you know what, when I heard you say it, I said, she knows me.
Yeah, I've been studying. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm wonderful. And
Excellent.
yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm just heightened and excited to be able to have you on. I just took the step. It was funny. I was trying to actually work with the wife because I know she is the boss lady, and she was like, just tell me one thing. How did you get me? Because I was all over the place. I was on the Facebook. I was on the websites, and I've been leaving messages. I had actually signed up and learned about so many of the initiatives that you are doing all across the country. And one of the things that I wanted to, a couple of them actually, that I wanted to talk about today was you had a page for leaders, mentors, and heroes of tomorrow. And then I know that some of these I'm supposing are your wife's initiatives as well. Sure Pleasure, inmate dating site, and, of course, your book, Freeway Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography, and she has another website for her daycare, but I believe another one of your initiatives. And so let's talk about some of the initiatives that you are sharing today.
Okay, let's do that. I'm with it.
All righty. So give us a little bit of a background about what motivated you to talk about literacy, because I've heard so many stories. We've talked about it as far as this man must be a genius for him to be able to crack a Rhodes Scholars initiative for a case against you. You met the devil right in his face and actually challenged
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we have to do sometimes. Sometimes we have to go places that we're scared to go to, and, you know, we have to overcome our fears. And I think that literacy was one of my biggest fears because I had been taught, and when I say I've been taught, not nobody who sit down and told me, oh, you're dumb, you're stupid, but just the way people treat you in your everyday life. And I was totally afraid to read.
Wow. Afraid to read. That's profound.
Yep.
That's profound. And so would you say that throughout your youth, you're saying that was something that kind of connected with you or something that became a challenge for you?
Absolutely. It was so bad that, you know, when I was in school, I would take squats rather than stand in front of the class and try to read. I would rather go down to the principal's office and get swats with a paddle or with a leather strap than to try to read.
Wow. That really touches me because I taught exceptional education, and the reason why I always say exceptional was because I had gifted and talented. I had actually, you know, all walks of life. And I would tell my students, you know, we have the problem because you have a gift. You think and you function in a different ways. And we don't know how to put you in our box. But take advantage of the fact that you have this small classroom. You know, I acted as a facilitator, and I ran my classroom, you know, like it was a gang. I had a doorman. I had somebody looking out, and I said, whatever happens in the classroom stays in the classroom, and everybody who is a student in my classroom, that's your brother, that's your sister. If you see them in the street, for the rest of your life, you're supposed to help them. And that really created a great bond. Of course, I fed them. But the idea of never, I learned never to do that, never to have a child stand up. And unless, you know, eventually they did. Eventually I was able to help them come out of their shyness or their reservation because I was a reading specialist and was able to engage. But the idea that you were able to basically be a Daniel in the lion's den and face your fears and work through those. Tell us about how what measures did you take in order to get out of that fear?
Well, the first thing you do is you have to understand who you are. And it took me, you know, being in prison, looking at a life sentence without the possibility of parole, to embrace myself and embrace who I was and where I came from. You know, so often, you know, in our schools, we don't talk about the greatness of the blacks, you know, the accomplishments that we made. You know, we don't talk about that blacks made the pyramids and, you know, and we made the cotton gin and, you know, and peanut butter. There's just so many things that I didn't know about, not only me, but my race and my forefathers and the ones who came before him. So you start to think that, you know, that you're this second-class person and that you're not on the same level as other people. You know, then you want to be like a certain race, you know, that you see on TV, and you think that what they're doing is what's supposed to be done. And you just get this inferiority about yourself and about your race and about your mother and about your father and about your brothers, and it just beats you down until to the point to where you're like, you know, well, I don't care anymore. You know, I don't want to be a part of this society. Wow.
Yeah. I guess that kind of reminded me of the hurricane. There was a movie I saw, and essentially he had to let go of his family. He just rejected everything and just decided that he was going to live and live his life in this kind of way. And then once the Canadian group of people supported him and got him to freedom, he left and went to Canada and lived out his life. And just the idea of finding that fear and fighting through that fear and getting to a point where you can find your own dignity, find your own humanity, I take my hat off to you. And I take my hat off to you in regard to, I think you represented, you epitomize the struggle that we have as African Americans in this society. You have and then the struggle of African American men. I can only imagine the legacy of what we have. And speaking of that, I just wanted to briefly touch on with you what your personal, if you wouldn't mind sharing your personal opinion of what's happening now. Our African American men, this is the second shooting of an innocent man with his hands up, before, of course, I think that was a lynching, the gentleman who was strangled to death. But the fact that this is a young male, yeah, he was sagging, yes, he was a young African-American man, but the idea that it wasn't even worth arresting him or securing him. They went and they shot him 8 times and basically executed him in public. And that this is occurring here in St. Louis. And so what is your opinion on that situation?
Well, I think that right now the black male has been demonized in the public's eye, in the world's eye, to where he's a threat just by being there. I mean, wow. You could be, like my lawyer said, he was a prosecutor at one time. He's a young black guy, and he looks a little younger than he is. And when he was in court, he spoke to one of the white ladies who worked inside the courtroom, and she had never seen him before, and she didn't know that he was a prosecutor. Well, this lady goes to the marshal and tells the marshal that he was intimidating her. So it doesn't matter when you're a young black male with the images and the descriptions that they've been showing us in the light, on TV and on the radio, that no matter how you look, when you're black, you're a threat. So I think that one of the main things that we as a society has to do is we have to undemonize the young black male, and the rap music doesn't help. When we talk about killing and, all we talk about is selling dope and pimping our women, then that gives people a perspective of us. Even though they listen to the music and they like the music, then they still have to think about the person that's making that song.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, and I was saying that Darling's one of our favorite hip-hop spoken word artists. This was Priest Hughes and the Recipe Poetry Guild. They were the music introduction, and they were talking about that, what's happened to hip-hop. And so the idea of being caught up in the money and the compromising your own integrity to be a part of a system that basically does not have our advantage or interest at heart. And so, the more profane you are, the better you're going to get the rewards and perks from these people. And the other side of that is we become the model all over the planet, in that people want to sag their pants in Yugoslavia and Europe. They want to wear the hat backwards, and they want to rap, and they want to have the girls and the model of this profane, in my opinion, lifestyle. And so the idea is our image becomes this universal stereotype, so that no matter where we go, we have this idea. And again, that goes back to the ideas of our upbringing, the inceptions that we have in ourselves. May I ask, could you give me your age range? How old are you?
I'm 54. And 54? Also to add to that rap has been commercialized. It's been taken over by corporate America, and they're the ones that's putting these images out. A lot of people think that it's these artists that are putting these images out, but no, these artists are actually doing exactly what these record labels want them to do.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that to me is what, it's almost as if we are, for lack of a better reference, we're selling ourselves out, because as we promote this corporate rap image, you know, we're actually perpetuating these stereotypes in people's heads, and, you know, it's reflected in everybody in the community, where there's no respect for women, there's no respect for children, you know, the whole mentality of our downfall. But yeah, I know that we still, I believe in my people. I believe in our young men, our youth, and I know that they are working to build a solution and a strategy of upbringing for themselves. And so I have all the hope, expectation for our young people, but it is a level where I'm very disturbed by what is going on, and that's close for me. St. Louis is close. I lived in St. Louis, and so I know that, you know, it's just 200 miles away before the disrespect, the attitudes and the dogma of what's going on there in St. Louis is coming in our way, in our direction. But let's go back a little bit to your book, because the celebration is that, you know, yes, you were able to overcome your fear of reading. You were able to actually get to a point where, yes, you were able to look at legal documents, identify errors, and you freed yourself. You are, you know, basically a runaway slave. The idea is that you were not only able to get yourself out, but you are giving back. You didn't just say, I got mine, now you get yours, but you're actually, like I said, a philanthropist in that you are giving back constantly. You have the patience and the energy and the movement of what you're doing. So give us a little bit about your book and the fact that you were able to author this book.
Well, the first thing is I was influenced about this book partially from Tookie Williams. When I saw them taking his through his trials and tribulations for them to executing, I recognized that he had wrote a book, and his book was on gangbanging. And then I thought about it, and I was like, wow, what better way for me to give back to the world than to write a book about selling drugs? Almost the same as Tookie did with gangbanging. He gave us an insight to gangbanging that a lot of people never had. And when I thought about it, I said, you know what? I should do the same thing with a book. And I set out to write that book to where people would understand how I was able to take $125 and turn it into, you know, days that I made $3 million in one day. And that's pretty much how this book came about.
Excellent. Now, give us a little bit of the highlights of what you are talking about. Just because, like I said, I wanted this to be like a teaser to kind of encourage people to want to pick up the book. I always, you know, I've heard the phrase, if you want to hide something from black people, then put it in the book. But the idea that we, you know, sometimes we buy a book and we just put it on the shelf, but, you know, and we ignore the content. Is this like a solution-oriented book, a way of solving problems, a way of working and engaging our young people in the community?
Absolutely. I think that once our young people read this book, they're going to get an understanding of why some of these people do what they do and how they only got part of the information. See, a lot of times our kids are making decisions with only partial information. So what I plan on with this book is to give them the rest of the information that they're not getting from anybody else. And that's what I'm hoping they get out of it.
Okay. So that is your primary audience, is young people or community?
No. This book should be read by everybody, because not only is this my book, but this is also American history. You know, this book stands for one of the most critical eras in our country history. You know, the 80s with the crack epidemic, with Ronald Reagan, the Iran-Contras, with Civil War. I mean, it goes to the White House. It goes to Israel. I mean, this story is crazy. And even though my book didn't touch on all of it, but there's other books that you can also get and put with my book that will bring everything to a clear understanding.
Okay. Could you recommend those books to us? What books are you referring to?
One of them is Gary Webb's book, Dark Alliance. It's a must-read for anybody that wants to know their history and wants to know more about how our government sanctioned people to bring drugs into this country.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I see. I looked you up on Amazon because you had the book for sale, and Dark Alliance by Gary Webb is there. Also, Black Scarface 2, The Rise of the American Kingpin.
Yeah, that's a novel that I wrote. It was based on a true story that me and a guy in prison wrote while we were still in prison.
Wow, okay. I guess the original Black Scarface, so it was Black Scarface 1 and 2. Are there some other books that you would like to suggest?
Well, you know what? I recommend everybody read my favorite 3 books, especially people who want to be successful in this country. These books pretty much lay out the principles that you should be using in your everyday life. Find out that these books laid out the principles that I was using in the drug business, and it laid it out enough to where I knew why I was able to take $125 and turn it into $3 million a day. And those 3 books are The Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and As a Man or As a Woman Think by James Allen. So those are 3 books that I recommend everybody read. But, you know, I went in prison literate, but I didn't come out that way. I read over 300 books before I was released from prison.
Okay. So that is an inspiration all in itself, and that you were always, to me, a self-made man, and that you were able to make a way for yourself, as you said, take a little bit and grow it into something great for yourself as far as a livelihood. I see a lot of self-made young men. They've fallen in the cracks, so to speak, but they know how to make their own way, and they're able to get through in life. But tell us, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit about, because you mentioned briefly about the greater issues. That's my argument, is that yes, you may have been a foot soldier, you may have worked on a certain echelon in illegal. The illegal side, so-called, of business and the underground economy. But there is a greater issue, and to me, the idea is that this is only fuel that they're taking out of our community. They're taking the money out of the community, but they're using this drugs as a fuel for their arms race, the wars that are occurring, and even the corporations being able to take over and control certain resources and initiatives. So I'm looking at the government, I'm looking at the senators, the people who have the big time money, and how they manipulate gun running as well as drugs, and take that as their money. It's almost like a stock exchange, a ready-made stock exchange for themselves, to be able to get money that they put in a little bit and they get out a lot. Yeah,
they do that, and what we have to do as citizens of this country is we have to take the power back and start making decisions for ourselves, and we can't just sit back and say, you know what, we elected these people as our leaders, and they're going to rule us wholeheartedly. No, this is not a dictatorship. And we have to take the power back. We have to start teaching these people what we want and what we don't want. And too often we haven't been doing that in the past. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to take a brief break, if you don't mind. It's coming up to the 30-minute time frame. And I would like to encourage our audience who is listening in, and thank our audience for listening in to our radio broadcast today. Brother Rick Ross, live and direct on Omni Communications Network. This is a Blog Talk radio show, and the beauty of Blog Talk is that it is archived and that you can listen to it at a later time. You can post it up on, networks and other site locations. And I want to encourage our listeners to then call in. The number is 347-989-8509. That's 347-989-8509. You can press the number 1 to let me know that you are wanting to ask a question. Otherwise, I will assume you're just listening in. But if you have a question now for Mr. Rick Ross, we are live and direct. You can talk to him personally and ask whatever you have on your mind. He is coming to Kansas City for a book signing of several events that will be occurring here in Kansas City through East Meets West of Truth. I want to give a shout-out to King Kihei and the CEO, Saste Metro, mostly. If you hear us and know that we are on the air, please call in and ask your questions and make your comments as well, and give a shout-out to Kansas City. I am new to Betsu, and I am here for our radio broadcast today. And just as a little housekeeping, please give us a call in, and you can ask a question live, or you can type in a chat. We have a Blog Talk chat line once you go in on air, and that will actually give us inroad to let you know that I can read your chat on the site, on the air. So if you have a question, I can just read it right there if you don't want to come on the air with your voice. But we are live and direct with Brother Rick Ross, and he has written a new book. It's available here in Kansas City, Freeway, Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography. And he will be available for sign-in. And then this says, with Kathy Scott. And so this book is available for our viewing, and we'll also be able to talk directly to Brother Rick Ross as he comes into Kansas City this coming Friday. Okay, so Brother Ross, could you share us a little bit tell us a little bit about Kathy Scott?
Well, Kathy is the author of The Death of Tupac and Biggie, and that was pretty much the reason that I chose her, because I felt she knew a little bit about the genre, and I needed somebody that could really put a book together well, because I had never put a book together myself, and I wanted to be organized. I didn't want it to be, I read books where it was scattered and misspelled words, and just so much stuff was wrong with it, and I didn't really want that to be with my book, because I knew my book was going to be a classic. I knew that my book would be a book that would be read for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it would probably be one of my main representatives of myself. So I felt that Kathy would be a good fit, and me and her, we got together. We rode around L.A. for a day and a half and just talked about everything, and I really got a good feel for her.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the Freeway Literacy Foundation.
Well, as you know, I was illiterate until I was 28 years old, so I felt that if I had a nonprofit, then the best thing for me to focus on was literacy, because I could really relate to literacy. And I started the foundation, and, when I go to, like, juvenile detention centers and stuff like that, I like to get the kids books to read that is going to enlighten them and going to make them sharp and going to put them in a position to where they can take care of themselves.
Okay. I noticed that you talk for this foundation. It covers literacy, entrepreneurship, and leadership. So give us a little bit about your background with working with youth and entrepreneurship. Yes, that's kind of like a heartbeat for me, in that I think that we should be focusing our young people in community activities where they're engaged with the community, that they don't just get a job or go to school and leave, but that they come back and they're a part of the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we need entrepreneurship in this country really, really bad, especially for African Americans, because, foreigners, they come over here and they already have instructions and then they have the backing of their country. But when you're African American and you're over here, you don't have any backing, because most of us don't have a rich uncle or a rich auntie, that's going to loan us $10,000 or $20,000 to start a business. So entrepreneurship in our community is really, really needed, because it's not something that we're just going to pick up walking down the street.
That's right. And that support network is not there. I would agree that most of the time you're going to school to work, to get a job, but they don't teach you to be entrepreneurs, and you have to. I'm just glad to see that you have in your corner, you're working with young people in doing that. I mean, in a way, they're doing it anyway if they're out, if they're out messing around, if they're in the underground economy. They are entrepreneurs, but to focus and channel that energy into something positive is good. Talk to us a little bit about. Go ahead.
I said absolutely. Criminal enterprise is definitely entrepreneurship, but like you said, not channeled in the right direction. So it's our goal to catch our kids at a young enough age and channel that energy into something positive.
Great. Would you care to share a little bit about your leaders, mentors, heroes of tomorrow? Or is
that's really my wife's program. She really started it, and her goal is to find young people who are really leaders like myself and catch them and guide them into being leaders for something positive instead of being leaders of the Crips or the Bloods or, all the other negative things that go on in our community.
Okay, that's great. Another thing that I noticed that she has posted as the owner is the Sure Pleasure inmate dating site. Would you care to share a little bit about that?
Well, I think she started that. That was another one of my wife's things that she started, and I think she started that because she wanted to give other inmates the same opportunity that she allowed me to have. It was very fortunate for me to have somebody that would get on the internet, do research for me, find out what was the latest books, and then send those books to me. She allowed me to send flowers to my mom for her birthday and just things that as an inmate you're not capable of doing. To have somebody on the outside that still has your back. And I think that when she did that, it's been a wonderful thing. She's allowed, women and men from the outside to meet people on the inside and vice versa. So I think that what she's doing with that and her intention is really wonderful.
Yes. And I didn't know if you were working in conjunction because of the objective of when a person does become released from prison, what safety net and resources that they might be able to have when they get out there. And so the objective of prison reentry, being able to establish a certain kind of, I suppose, pathway, much like the Underground Railroad. They made all the provisions for the individuals, hiding them, directing them to their pathways so that they could attain their freedom. So, a lot of times we don't want individuals to have to stand to nefarious activities just because, this was all that they knew. And so can you share a little bit, I suppose, about the statistics? Okay. Yes. I know that I didn't intend for you to I said it was just going to be brief, but I have enjoyed it. It was my pleasure to be able to have you to speak with that.
Well,
so, yes.
All right, I appreciate being there. But absolutely, the government resources that the government makes available for guys getting out of prison is almost zero. They do what they call a halfway house, but it's just another form of prison. When you get there, you have to find your own jobs. You have to think for yourself. There's no job training inside our prison systems. Either you get it for yourself or you don't get it. There's no college courses inside of prison. So the thing about rehabilitation is a thing of the past. Right now, our prison systems are basically used as warehouses to house guys for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and then turn them out worse than they were when they came. Now, since you're a convicted felon, you can't get jobs that you could have got when you weren't a convicted felon, and it was just all bad.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you for sharing with us today, and this has been vital. I know that you are a man who has a cause and is committed to what you're doing. Thank you again for sharing with us today.
Thank you, too, and I hope I see you when I'm in Kansas City this week.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be there. All right. Thank you.
All right. And anybody, they can text me at Freeway Ricky 72727. Text me there, and you can keep up with me. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right. Take care now. You have been listening to Freeway Rick Ross. I was able to catch him on the fly and have a chance to dialogue and talk with him. This is a teaser to encourage our listeners to know that he is coming into town. He's coming live and direct here in Kansas City. There has been so much dichotomy in that some people, they either love him or hate him in regard to the fact that he has been a man who was in that life, in that underground economy, but he got caught. He paid his dues, and he now is a philanthropist, and that he is giving back to the community. And so I want to encourage you all to be prepared for the book signing opportunities that are going to be around town in Kansas City. I wanted to go ahead and cover some of the initiatives of what will be happening. So we are going to take a brief break, and then I'll be back with some of the highlights and scheduling of what's going to be happening Saturday.
We making mud pies. It's a recipe with dirty deeds, speaking peace into people's lives. These words are ride or die for all our time. We define life through rhyme, digging deeper into shallow minds. Third eyes wide to defeat evil with peaceful lines. In time to eternally survive. Once we've been called home to streets paved in gold and no longer does pain and suffering roam, battling the demons, DNA placed within our hearts, mentally challenged from the start, or so they thought, because we arrived knowing that we'd one day depart, growing older, yet and still searching for the true at heart. See, time is the game we play because we play with time, but it's what we do with our time, ourselves we define, knowing within ourselves true happiness we shall find, for we are direct descendants of the almighty divine. So no matter what they say they think you should be, stand fast in your vision, never stray from belief. Just give it all you got till you make it to the top. Strap your heart to your palm and make them haters heads pop. I can feel my heart beating, boom, boom, pulsating with the rhythm, living art, breathe inspiration to those who feel them, leave a lasting impression, witness my steel, picture the scripture, let to appeal, they drawn to my magnetism, the skill in this mic I wield, handling aphorisms like double-edged blade of steel, straddle the fence, a duality with every verse, we challenges rip, then renew vitality with words, a sacred bond between life and death, that's what I hold, your heart in my palm, circulate breath through the microphone, emotions on call, responding to what's been told, I capture it all, full of emptiness just like the hole, the black night, seldom seen, but always visible, shining like armor on these streets, and in the city, you've given you vivid truth and hopes you bold enough to grow up, display brilliance on stage every way when I saw it, come on, come on.
Half and whole, heart and goals, heavy loads, dodging potholes, running in black holes with lost souls. Tread to the road, loving, living, and letting go. Karma full circle, naked as my soul unscrolled, putting my laundry out for show. So folks can criticize my life because they think they know my pick and roll as I flow, ducking tolls. Without an ounce of gold, I'm getting paid on this road. I paved it to feel whole. It's a metaphor, source explored, talk intact, destined to be an artifact. Anything you use is using you. You're here to find what you came to do. Only then will your heart be true. One love blooms, kiss from the womb. Conversation is a gift, temples rift like a myth of incense in the upper room. No pride, calm mind, I scribe the psalm with a Buddhist palm. Making arms, putting mind over matter, speaking to the immortal.
Okay, we are back. I am Nutibek Sue, and we are live and direct on the air at the Rick Ross radio broadcast. You were just listening to a live broadcast of Rick Ross. I called him, and he came with a good spirit and came on the air to share and talked a little bit about himself, and wanted to give us a teaser or a taste of our gentleman who will be coming into Kansas City, sharing his book, sharing his life and energy, giving back to our young people. He is growing an army of at-risk youth, working with them, encouraging their lifestyle, encouraging them to move positively. He is engaging, giving money, establishing foundations for that core energy. He mentioned Tookie Williams. Tookie Williams was one of the starters of the Crips and Bloods. He ended up writing several children's books and engaging the young people. He was, for me, a favorite in that he had worked himself to a point of rehabilitation and giving back. Even though he was on death row, they were able to not pay his execution, and they did finally execute him. But the legacy of the work that he had and the heart that he had and the recommendations and energy that he shared lives on in our young people and the people that he touched. And it showed that energy was there and that it touched Freeway Rick Ross's heart as well. One of the things I wanted to share was that this event is called The Formation, a discussion on the evolution of crime, its effect on entrepreneurialism. It's sponsored by Freeway Literacy Foundation, the BTC Building Brighter Futures organization. When it will be August the 14th, 2014, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., where the BTC Building Brighter Future location, 1734 East, 301, Kansas City, Missouri, 60110, featuring Rick Ross. Ricky Donnell Ross, better known as Freeway Rick Ross, is one of those rare figures whose experience as a drug kingpin led him to a life of rebuilding and community in which he once helped to destroy. Mr. Ross will join the discussion as our guest speaker, delivering the message of turning the enterprising mind of a criminal into the forward-thinking and purposeful movement of a community activist, role model, and successful entrepreneur. So he has a website if you want to learn more about Freeway Rick Ross, www.freewayrick.com. That's www.freewayrick.com. Seating is limited, so you must RSVP. That number is 816-842-4975. Building Brighter Futures is a service-providing organization that advocates on behalf of its clients to achieve their individually desired goals. So this is a free event open to the public. Again, August the 14th at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Our next event that will be taking place will be at Eggs and Enlightenment on Friday morning. That event will take place at the Eggs and Enlightenment site location at the McDonald's off of 18th Street. I want you all to comment with your best behavior, but we will have an open discussion and our initial book signing for that event. I also want to share a little bit more about his itinerary. So August the 14th, there will be a Freeway Rick Ross barbershop request book signing. That will be from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The next location will be Beyond the Convention Symposium, Beyond the Conviction, Kansas City, Missouri. That will take place from 12:30 to 3 p.m. And then the next schedule, Wings Cafe, 4:30 to 7 p.m. Then the next schedule is 18th and Vine at downtown. He will be at a book signing at that site location on 18th and Vine from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., Cool Wayne's radio show. Tune in 90.1 FM at KKFI from 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. for Brother Rick Ross. Friday, August the 15th, Cool Wayne radio show, KKFI. That will move into 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Then, we again at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Eggs and Enlightenment will have their event. That's 1421 Prospect Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64127. Then a Tenniel event from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then Seventh Heaven book signing event, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., State Representative Brandon Ellington will be at Oak Park. Then Eternal Life Church will have a movie night from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., and he will be there for a book signing, and there will be a brief film about his life and legacy. Then at the Blueford Library to 8 p.m., Kansas City Public Library, Rick Ross will have his signing schedule. 8 p.m. till 11 p.m., Wingbusters will be Tenniel Logan. And then from 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., Underground Heat. That's at 11131 Colorado Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. Then Saturday, August the 16th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Generation Rap radio show is scheduled to speak with Brother Rick Ross. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Black Insanity at Bruce Watkins Cultural Heritage Center, Rick Ross book signing. 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., the Mary Kelly Center, 5308 Chestnut Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. Rick Ross book signing scheduled. 7 p.m. to 12 a.m., a retro bowl meet and greet industry mixer at Club 906. I believe there will be a talent show also scheduled at Club 906. That will last from 7 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Then Rick Ross scheduled for Tenniel Benton event, Harold Pinner's Menswear, 1801 East 63rd Street, Kansas City, Missouri. There will be a book signing schedule. And the KCI Airport, going home. So I want to thank our listeners again for chiming in. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get a hold of the CEO and the president of East Meets West of Truth, but I know that they are here in spirit and that I'm the executive director, and I was able to get a hold of Brother Rick Ross and share a little bit briefly with him. I want to support what the East Meets West of Truth organization is about. We support at-risk youth. We work to build green sustainable initiatives and entrepreneurial objectives for our young people in Kansas City. And what I mean by green, what I mean is we practice recycling. We work with electronics. We collect aluminum cans, but electronics is my focus, and then I'd like to get more. We are a receiving location at the Almond Park of old electronics, everything except monitors. Monitors are very toxic, and you actually have to pay to get rid of the monitors. But old televisions that are still working, computers, laptops, cell phones, old landline phones, anything that you can plug in a wall, toasters, and we also encourage our young people to dabble with them. So they're actually learning STEM education, being able to look at motherboards and circuits and soldering circuits together and working with the technologies on the inner core of a computer. We have engaged our young people in order to learn that. Then we also have urban agriculture. They do tilling and light landscaping, low voltage installations. We can hook up your wiring for your security system, your lighting for your back patio, for instance, or your porch. We can do those types of installations through our InWatch property management company. And so we're engaging our young people to work in tasks that they can learn a trade, a vocation. They can actually prepare themselves for home ownership and be able to maintain their own home. One of the initiatives that we do is that we actually require that you're growing something. In order to be a part of Eastern Truth, you have to be a grower. You actually have to put a seed in the ground. One of my tests was I actually grew wheatgrass and sprouted my own seeds and ate those sprouted alfalfa and wheatgrass and flax seeds. And just the idea that is potent, energy-packed food. I juice that wheatgrass, add a little spinach, add some apple juice, pineapple juice, add some spirulina or other types of green juices as an energy drink for myself. So the objective of that are entertainment, green sustainable initiatives, and with the Almond Park Ankh, which is our House of Life, we talk about our Native American, ancient African spirituality. We celebrate the solstices, the winter and summer solstice. We celebrate the vernal equinox, autumnal equinox, the harvest time seasons, the planting and blessing of the seeds. We do home blessings where we work on aligning your home to its prosperity and health and wellness. I also have an initiative with You Grow Girls. I would like to encourage individuals to come out and support me in that. I'm working with girls to move them into green sustainable initiatives. I want to establish an all-girls chess club where girls are proficient enough to go into tournaments and compete. I also want to establish a girls' choir with the Youth Grow Girls. My sister is a wonderful cultural music director, and so to actually establish a choir with the girls and use that as a traveling initiative for them to be able to go out into the world, go to Africa, go to Japan, go to other places, and tour as an advantage. So these are some of the initiatives that I am looking for in the future with the Almond Park Ankh and You Grow Girls. But moving our young people into a sustainable way of life. Those who have juvenile offenses, they can move into fields and vocations and careers very easily that can help them sustain themselves and move into a positive light and not have to return back into the underground economy. So these are some of the things that we are doing with East Meets West of Truth, Almond Park Ankh Urban Farm, the Mosley Farm, and the East Meets West of Truth that is helping our community. I want to thank you all again. I was expecting to have, I know that it was a spontaneous response, but I did use the 6 p.m. time frame, which I want you all to get used to. I want you to put the number in your phone and plug in at 6 o'clock because we're going to do something every 6 o'clock every Monday. So I want you to get used to that. I would like to engage people to share with us your response and reaction over the killings that have occurred. These young men who have been exposed to police officers who basically shot them or lynch them or strangle them in public settings. It's very disturbing, and we need to get back to a point where we look positively, as Brother Rick Ross spoke of, that we find a way of lifting up our young men and thinking of them in a positive way and not in a negative way, to re-engage them into a positive lifestyle and save their lives, because we're smutting out our young princes, our young potential doctors and attorneys and actors and statesmen and senators. We're smutting out their lives over nothing, for no reason at all. And we need to wrap our arms around them. And so at this point, I'd like to give a moment of silence for this recent situation that has occurred for our young man that was shot by police officers when he was standing on his knees with his hands up here today, here last night. Okay. But, yes, we need to send out that positive energy and wrap our arms around our young men, not to condemn them, but to convict them, to move them into a positive way of life. Because this can't go on. I can hardly stand it to know that our sons are being assaulted by police authority. So our heads go down for Michael Brown, 18-year-old, who was fatally shot by the police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Thank you again for listening to our broadcast today. I am Nita Sue, and you've been listening to Amen Communications. If you would like to have a radio broadcast or share with our network, give me a call. My phone number is area code 816-304-7240. And we have Community Activist Radio every Monday, so we can schedule your time of when you would like to go on the air and set up a broadcast for you. And we can discuss those terms. We can do live interviews. We can have call-in shows. We can have celebrations, go on a family reunion and actually pot up live on the air. And for those that are not able to make it in town and be a part of the family reunion, you can actually have a live broadcast where you can engage the entire family. This is an excellent venue for even weddings or birthday parties, to have a live radio broadcast that you can post up, and you can save the music and energy as a heritage or as a memory for the family. So please feel free to give me a call. And, again, plug the number into your phone so that you can listen in just by pressing speed dial. That number is 347-989-8509. And this is Amen Communications Network signing out.
What happened to hip-hop? It got caught in the crossfire of a drive-by and died. Translated, open your heart and spit it with your third eye. What happened to hip-hop? Brother, sister, daughter, son got infatuated with the power of a gun. Too afraid to knuckle up and go toe-to-toe. Yeah, now it's who's quicker with the fofo. No more beat street unless you get beat in the street. No spree, bling, 100 stacks means you was beat by the streets. No more love, peace, and laceless sneaks. Every other bar, hollow points blowing off your piece. Or maybe I'm just deaf. Most industry cats think they fresh. Studio gangsters, 15-minute tasters, getting 10% of their paper. Everything rented, no personal possession, no gold, no platinum equals back in your mama's basement. So what happens to hip-hop? Battles on the corner for lyrical supremacy. When with the mic and steel wheels, we turned out the party. When the block stood, one for all for one. In the middle of the block, cyphering till the moon gave way to the sun. So what happened to hip-hop? Money happened to hip-hop. Happened to hip-hop. Greed happened to hip-hop. Ignorance happened to hip-hop. So what happened to hip-hop? It became a reflection of the pains we live, the false definitions of culture. So what happened to hip-hop? Sex and violence became #1 sellers. Hella, heaven can't straddle the fence. So what happened to hip-hop? How bad it. Ask the lyricists that got dropped when they tried to preach it. Because I'm just a poet, trying to right my wrongs through poetic songs. Trying to touch that lost soul through spoken word on the beats that make your hip hop in your head nod. So what happened to hip hop? It got incorporated by the nemesis of